Who's going to be ranked Mississippi this week that we should not be ranked? South Carolina? Am I?
No.
Don't be so sure.
I am so sure. I mean,
all right, let's do it then.
All right. Much love to the Pac-12, but sorry, just like you get disrespected everywhere else. Here's what we think is going to happen in the top 25 on Sunday. So Ole Miss, as a 3-loss team, being from the SEC and with a close loss to Alabama, is probably going to hang on in the top 25. They were number 14 in the AP top 25 last week. I think they fall to number 22. That would put them behind the likes of a Cincinnati, behind the likes of a Tulane, of a Coastal Carolina. I think that North Carolina is going to hang on, as it only took its second loss as well. Those teams were 13 and 14. I think they come in at 21 and 22. Oklahoma State will fall out after the loss to Oklahoma. Texas bumps in. They were one of the top teams receiving votes last week that did not make the top 25. You put up a double nickel on the board, scoreboard watchers are going to say, okay, you can get in now, especially because some of the other teams that were on ballots last week, the likes of an NC State, the likes of a Liberty, the likes of a Duke, all took losses. UCF is an interesting one, probably the most interesting in the top 25 debate, just because they were 17 last week. They lost 17-14 against Navy, but they do have wins against Tulane and Cincinnati, teams that are both in the top 25. You could argue that UCF's resume is better than Ole Miss's, but I don't think as a consensus across the 63 voters, we are going to see that decision being made. I think all of those teams remain in the rankings. Not much change up top. I don't know. Where are y'all's big questions at?
These are all sound, logical arguments that you're making, Chip, but I must ask you one question.
Yes.
Did any of those teams happen to beat a top 5 team by 25 points today? Did any of those teams happen to be an SEC team that beat a top 5 team by 25 points today?
This is your South Carolina is going to crash the top 25 argument.
Yes.
I'm saying it's a lot more likely than I think you believe it is.
What if I told you the top 5 team they beat is from the SEC?
It was going to be the playoff because it lost.
All right. So let's go. The losses: Arkansas, Georgia,
It's not want to deal with our crap, right?
Missouri, and Florida. The wins: Tennessee, yes.
Kentucky,
a
perennially ranked Kentucky team.
I'm going to say no.
Is Kentucky ranked for a quality loss?
No.
Okay. All right. Just checking. Hey, it's happened in prior weeks, right? We just got to cover the bases. This is the protocol.
So it doesn't happen as much later in the season, honestly, because later in the season, you do have more full body of work. And we start to see it really even in the others receiving votes. You can start to see how the voting behavior has really zeroed in on a smaller group of teams. Earlier in the season, a lot of teams where the disparity in others receiving votes is not that much. Then you get into later in the year, the group think sets in. Writers are exhausted. You're late in the year. You're just like, whatever, like this team out, this team in. You don't quite see as much. I do think that we are going to have USC moving up into the top 5. I think that we see Clemson moving probably up to number 7. And then we still got some results out there that we need to shake out in the middle of the rankings. Notre Dame moving up to number 14. Hello, quality win or loss for USC. We'll see what happens right there. So right now, I could be wrong for sure, but right now I'm going to say that Texas, who is just outside the top 25 and on a bunch of ballots last week, is the only new addition to the top 25.
Well, Bud made up a great point, and you just mentioned Texas. Earlier this year, Texas lost a close game to an undefeated Alabama and entered the poll after not being ranked the previous week. What if another team lost a close game, say, on a field goal with 9 seconds left today, that
Illinois
had been ranked before, but it lost to this undefeated team that's currently in the top 3, and it was a very close game? Shouldn't it maybe, if we all follow the same logic that we use when Texas loses to Alabama? Shouldn't Illinois work its way back into the poll? I don't know. I don't know a lot of other teams that would have a lead over Michigan in Ann Arbor that late in the fourth quarter. In fact, nobody has. I feel like that's got to be one of the 25 best teams in the country.
How are you going to like ruin Oregon State's day like this? They've won 8 games for the first time since 2012 after winning at Arizona State. The Beavs are hanging on to that top 25 status with their little beaver claws, and you're trying to kick them out just so that you can get Illinois in there.
I think it was Matt Hinton who tweeted it, but it was true, even if it wasn't Matt. Oregon State's got to be the most anonymous 8-3 team in college football history as far as the Power 5 is concerned.
They were pretty beat up today, and they went down and just beat the heck out of Arizona State. Arizona State might be done. Like, they had a nice little bounce back from Sean Aguanu, the interim coach there. And then Bourget was kind of a fun story. The quarterback they put in, whose brother, or maybe there's another kid by that last name that plays for is it Western in the MAC? But yeah, they're not that bad. Like, they're pretty physical along lines of scrimmage. They have a bunch of tailbacks they can replace. They got Trayshawn Harrison, who's pretty solid at receiver. The quarterback is just bad regardless of who it is, but Nolan is the starter, but he's been out for a bunch of weeks, and they keep winning ball games. That's your Oregon State minute. Chip, we did cover the Pac-12. Do we need to cover Pac-12 games that are not the one I'm currently watching, are not USC, UCLA, and are not Washington State? By the way, guys, Washington State's good. Like, that's a very good defense, and they just embarrassed Arizona's offense today.
I'm glad we're talking the Pac-12 because I've got more Pac-12 questions for you.
Okay.
Regarding the rankings. With Tennessee losing, it's going to be a new top 5 team. Does LSU move up to 5 at 9-2, or does USC, after beating UCLA and improving to 10-1, jump LSU and move into that 5 spot? And what about a suddenly 10-1 Clemson?
Oh, it's USC.
You're sure?
I mean, you asked my opinion on it, so
okay.
Does Clemson jump Bama?
Yes.
Okay.
Bama gets no love from a 34-0 win against Austin Peay. Clemson won decidedly against Miami. Yes, I think so.
Do we think that Tennessee will fall like behind Oregon if the Ducks win? It's a pretty bad loss, man. I mean, like you can't lose by 25 with a concession touchdown. I mean, it was a bigger margin than that for a little while.
Yes, I think Oregon jumps into the top 10. I think they fall behind.
Kind of hard to.
Tennessee has 2 losses. Alabama has 2 losses. Tennessee beat Alabama. I think that head-to-head is respected. So maybe Oregon just jumps up into 10.
Now that Tennessee does not have to be considered in the playoff, do we think the committee will continue to respect that? And do we think the AP will
Alabama's
act
not in the
differently?
playoff either?
Oh, but they could be.
No, they can't.
You don't think tonight's results increase the chance of that?
Alabama's not going to be in the playoff. 2-loss team that doesn't even win its own division will not be in the college football playoff.
It's quite unlikely, but I do think it's probably like a 3 or 4% shot.
I don't want it.
Okay.
If I'm telling you right now, if a 2-loss Alabama makes the college football playoff, I am never even discussing the playoff on this show again because it will be complete bullshit. It won't be a real thing. It'll just be a made-up television event to get ratings for facts, not opinion, not nothing. If that happened, we would know. It would be confirmed. The championship is the secondary aspect of the whole thing.
Which is good because the regular season is the best part of college football. So let's just
Agreed.
forget about the college football playoff entirely. You know, we can only talk about these incredible days that we have.